Why don't you tell us about what was going on in basketball?
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about what happened in season first before we get to the out of season big news that have happened. In season, the Las Vegas Aces, my Aces, come away once again undefeated on the week thus far. Like we said, we are recording here on a Saturday. I think they do play tomorrow. In fact, tomorrow evening. This week they did beat the Suns 94-86, Liberty 83-77, and Mercury 86-83. They are doing enough to get the job done. Like we said, no blowouts here, but they are finding ways to win, and that's what the whole of the sports are about. I say that now, but I will complain about some other teams who are just sneak away with some sports, and they're not that good. But for this particular instance, I'm in the other end. Aja Wilson and her crew are playing very, very good basketball right now. In fact, they played so well that they've jumped from not being in a playoff spot all the way up to the 5th spot right now. So they are inching their way up into that other tier potentially.
Very impressive climb, and yeah, like we said, it goes to show what like a couple weeks of being very hot can do for you in the standings in a league where it's this tight.
Yeah, very much so. Like we said, we are coming to the end here very, very quickly. Quicker than it seems for the baseball world almost. The Liberty, on the other hand, they've had a little bit of a rough week. Their schedule was not as nice to them as it was in the previous week. They are still playing without Stewie, of course, who's rehabbing the injury. Luckily enough for them, they are still holding pretty tightly onto that second spot. They did lose this week to the Lynx, of course, that we talked about earlier. Battle of the Role Players, 83-71. They did end up beating the Sparks the game after. The Sparks are really, they're going to try to outshoot you, and may the team who plays just the smallest amount of defense win the game. That game finished 105-97, but they did end up facing my Aces, which I talked about. They ended up losing that one 83-77. The Sparks this week, while we've mentioned them, talked about them, they do end up coming away 2-1 on the week again, so they are slowly making the climb. They're still on that 9th spot, but they are inching closer and closer to tasting that just a playoff potential right now. Of course, they did beat the Storm on Sunday, 94-91. They did, and Dallas earlier this week. And of course, we talked about they lost to the Liberty in a God almighty, there's no defense in this game shootout. Over there in the Sparks in LA, Kelsey Plum and her squad, Hamby, brings everyone else, Rakia Jackson, their whole team, they have at least 3 to 4 players a night just doing absolute work. But I would say on the criticism side, they need some help on the defensive end, which I think is where Cayman Brinks would come in. I think last week she led the league in blocks from her return, but she's not still playing enough minutes to make a big enough contribution quite yet.
Yeah, hopefully, I'm sure they're hoping they can stay afloat until she gets back up to full minutes and whatnot.
Yeah, I don't know what their timeline is. It feels like everyone's very kind of on the edge. Like, I don't think the Sparks, I think, could be the team that upset everyone. If they find a way to sneak into the playoffs, they have enough firepower to win probably every game that they play in. It's just going to be that defensive end that's going to be a little bit tougher. And if they have just a bad shooting game, it's kind of good night for them. The good news this week, if you are a Minnesota Lynx fan, is they played one game. Was last Sunday. That was the Battle of the Role Players against Liberty. They ended up winning that game, and they also have clinched a playoff spot, the first playoff spot in the WNBA now.
That is wild. They did end up, with the Liberty slipping behind a little bit. They are now like 6 games ahead of second place.
Yeah, they have kind of stormed their way up, as seems kind of be the way for at least a couple teams from last season that we've seen. If you make it to the finals in the WNBA, it feels like the next year you'll find your way there again if you at least keep most of your team intact. And I would say they have improved a little bit. Dejanay Carrington going over there is, I think, a great asset to have, especially having her come off the bench. Like, she's probably a starter in most other places, but having that firepower come off the bench is super nice to have. So that is, I think, the week in the WNBA. We are, like I said, coming very, very close to the end of the season here. I'm about to take a look here. Let's see how many games we actually have left. It has to be probably, if I'm guessing, probably 10-ish, if that.
Let's see.
So we have about 12-ish games left for the most part, 11, 12 games, somewhere between there.
Per team, yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like regular season will be wrapping up September 11th.
Yep, so we're like 3 or 4 weeks away.
A little under a month, yeah.
Yeah, a little under a month of WNBA action with NBA action right on its tails. In the NBA, we've had some storylines, nothing player involved. The first one here in the Mile High City is our beloved mascot Rocky is suing the Cronkies ownership for discrimination over, I do believe is like a disability discrimination.
Yeah, so for those unfamiliar with the heritage of Rocky, I mean, everyone should be fairly familiar with the number one mascot in basketball for a lot of the early 2000s.
I think he's the highest paid mascot in the world.
Original Rocky was the father figure who was that early generation. And then after 15 or so years of doing mascot work, your body kind of falls apart a little. And he handed the mantle down to his son, who became our more recent, newer Rocky, and that was during our championship run. But unfortunately, from the lifestyle of being a high-flying mascot, he ended up needing like double hip replacement surgery after that championship season. And they basically, his lawsuit alleges that the Cronkies gave his job away, basically, and even though he like had the surgery, came back, and was like, but needed time for like recovery and stuff from double hip replacement before doing mascot stuff. They ended up keeping him through the end of last season, then had a tryout for Rocky this year, which he participated in, did not get the job, and that's why now a lawsuit.
Yeah. I mean, I understand like it is like a family passed down thing, but also the Cronkies own the figure that is Rocky. And if you are a mascot and Rocky is a little crazy and sporadic doing flips and things and all the things that you may need your hips for, if you cannot potentially fulfill that, maybe he could or did, but I am.
Yeah, it's an interesting case to be applying the sort of like thing of job things where it's like, can you do the requirements of this job with or without some sort of like appropriate assistance or something like that? Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. But it is, I mean, 100% from like the business point of view, Cronky Entertainment owns the rights to the character.
Like I get it from like I understand why Rocky feels that way because it is like my father's father and father and father and father. We're all Rocky and I'm also Rocky, and it's just kind of like this thing. I get that, but also it's not like a thing you own or do. It's like something you can train for, kind of like a carnival sort of deal.
Mm-hmm.
But I also understand from the Cronky's point of view, where it's like we're probably paying this dude quite a lot. My man just had double hip surgery. Can he lift the boxes that are 50 pounds? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I feel like maybe it's time to go in a different direction, perhaps.
Yeah, there's for sure a certain expectation of quality from the performance of Rocky, no matter who's in the suit. And from a the other point of view of the business thing is the mascot has other duties outside of showtime during the game performances. Like that's part of he's like the face of the franchise for like going out to schools and public events and things like that. That you're expected. You have a busy schedule if you're a team mascot.
Very much.
So it's someone who wouldn't be able to meet all those obligations for long periods of time. I could see how you would want to pivot away from that.
Potentially, yeah.
That is an interesting local story. And then this one I thought was just kind of funny because of the similarity of the team logos is what everyone picked up on immediately. The owner of the Carolina Hurricanes is going to be buying the Portland Trail Blazers for an estimated $4 billion.
Question for you, as I saw this, is it possible, like, I don't think Portland's ever going to leave the Trailblazers organization, but would Carolina ever leave to move their team potentially out there? Like, you have an arena in both spots. You could...
I mean,
I don't know who owns the, like, there's like always who owns the arena, but I can, let's see, like, how hard is it to slap down, buy some ice plates and throw them down?
I could see a potential where the NHL wants to do an expansion and add another team like Atlanta or something out in the East, and then you move Carolina out west to Portland. I could see that working. It's a little bit more feasible now that we have that Seattle team out there already as like a potentially like that's the new rivalry out in the West.
Could you imagine the Portland hockey team in the East?
Yes, we've seen some really weird.
You mean like Memphis in the West?
Memphis in the West,
New Orleans
Carolina in the West,
Yeah.
New Orleans, all sorts of fun. Where we draw the boundary of East and West in this country has never been agreed upon by any sport. So, yeah, that's a funny one. It would also be the third move or second move in their franchise. If the Hurricanes move, they are originally the Hartford Whalers franchise. So they've already packed up once. It'd be a big blow for the Carolina hockey fans out there because you don't have any other.
I could see the only reason I would
you have to become a Capitals fan or something.
Yeah, the only reason I would suggest the move there is you can't move the Portland Trail Blazers there because you already have the Charlotte Hornets who are kind of take up that whole region of space. Like you could have a North and South Carolina, but that's going to be.
I've seen a lot of interesting things too about maybe moving the Charlotte team.
Yeah, I would. The Charlotte team, one doesn't have very many fans because they are atrocious.
Yeah.
But the Portland fans are diehards. I think that out of the fan bases, I think the Portland fan base I think is slightly better than the Carolina fan base. I guess.
Yeah. I for basketball in particular,
I think I would guess for any sport would be my guess.
I think the Hurricanes have established themselves pretty well,
and also you don't have another sport in Portland right now other than the Trailblazers.
They might have a
soccer
team.
They do have a soccer team. I think they have both NLS and a WNLS.
One of these days, you'll get your hand on the
too many letters. I do numbers.
Absolutely. Well, any other basketball news we need to cover this week?
No.
All right.